Yo, what's going on today, guys? Back here for another tier list video. So I made one like last week or maybe like a week and a half ago. We've played ranked longer, we've seen some more tournament results, and I've just gained more knowledge and experience from this set. I wonder if that picked up on the mic. My phone just made like the pack notification noise that I opened a pack, but yeah, so basically we've played the game longer, so I feel like I have a more understanding of what the meta is like, and I just wanted to do a quick updated one as I don't have the most time to record and I can make this pretty fast. So I'm basically just going to be doing changes on the tier list. I'm not going to be making a whole new one from scratch. So if you want to know my opinions about some Pokemon, you could watch the previous one that I'll have linked in the description. But basically real quick, I have these tiers, what the last one was at the very end, and I have Tinkaton down here. This was just for the Tinkaton video if you ended up watching it, so I'll just move it back to where I had it before. But I made a new category, Rogue. So basically what we have, top tier essentially, which is S. Then we have A+, which is like high tier, and even like higher, like in between top tier and high tier. Then we have like B+, A-, which is just between mid tier and high tier. So it's like either low high tier or like upper mid tier. And the same thing for here, like upper mid tier, lower, or like low mid tier, upper high tier, or upper low tier. I mean, you guys know what I mean. But I just wanted to move this some stuff. So originally the reason I had Zapdos in low tier is because there was a Pachirisu build that was playing like one Pikachu EX, one Zapdos EX. But I'm gonna be real, that's just the most optimal build, so I'm just going to move Zapdos to 4 feet under. You can play him in casuals, he's a very funny card, and he actually does a buff to do Pachirisu. Can set him up faster, also Dawn. You could also Dawn into him with a Magneton. But at the end of the day, Zapdos is just not the best, 130 HP is just not nice. So a lot of the times I usually bank like EX tier list just like off of the EX Pokemon power by itself, but I'm basically going to be doing it like what their deck is ranked. So Blastoise, I think Blastoise, if you can't get Blastoise set up, is actually phenomenal. I mean, it does 160 damage with the combination of red. You can do 180. Just the 160 alone one shot stuff like a Darkrai EX and most things in the meta. So I actually think if you can get Blastoise set up, Blastoise is a phenomenal deck and actually can do very good. Yeah, because dude, even with red, you could one-shot something like Gyarados if it doesn't have a giant cape. So I actually think like Blastoise is very strong if you can get it set up. Problem is getting the Blastoise set up. It is a stage 2. You have to wrap it up with Manaphy. Manaphy is not the best in this meta. Obviously, Gyarados is playing Manaphy, but at the same time, Manaphy can die to the chip damage from Darkrai. So you always want to have an air it up. But yeah, you either need to get like a lucky Misty Flip or like go second and have like the full evolution line like right away. And yeah, and then Blastoise is pretty fun, but so I'm just gonna put it at a Rogue because, like I said, I think it's phenomenal into the, obviously, when I say phenomenal, I don't mean like top tier, but I think it's actually very good if you can get it set up. The problem is 5 energy, and it's a stage 2. Next card I wanted to move that's just in low tier, which is Lucario EX. Let's just there's another example. I'm trying to think. It's somewhere in here. Oh, very similar to Garchomp EX. The regular non-EX is just better. It just is. The extra 20 damage on the fighting types, it's a non-EX. And 3 energy is a big commitment for some of these fighting decks, dude, where you want to like have something squishy go and do some damage. It's gonna faint. And you either have one like a Marshadow of 2 energy that is like a 1 really big hit, or you just have another one that's like a 1 energy go in. So sometimes like committing 3 energy in a fighting deck, like depending on what you have and what you are playing against, can be a commitment. And you're only doing 100 damage, so you basically have to like rely on something being weak. And then 150 HP is nice, but like Giratina, because it is weak, the Psychic does one-shot if you don't have a giant cape, and they could even one-shot if you have a giant cape because of Darkrai. So I think it's actually a very good card, but unfortunately because of the meta, because Giratina and Darkrai is the most dominant and most played deck, has a pretty rough time in that matchup if you don't go like second, like right away with Lucario and start doing some damage. Plus like the bad thing, because it is 3 energy, like let's say you start second with Riolu, you're going to be playing the one that's 1 energy. The one that's 2 energy sucks. You never want to play that. So you basically have to like either keep Riolu in. Riolu's only 60 HP, can get chipped from Darkrai, and maybe you attack it, like if you can't like attack it into Rocky Helmet, or like you attack it for Riolu once, you evolve in the car, and then you just have like turn of doing no damage. So the 3 energy is just very awkward, but like realistically is like a very strong attack and ability. It's just unfortunate that like the meta is just not pretty good for it. And maybe if we get like a Rambo fighting card one day, I can see Lucario increasing in usage and just like being pretty good. But like until then, it's just like a rogue option. Nobody really plays it. You see maybe like 1 in like 100 matches from my experience in ranked. And in competitive play, I don't believe I've seen Lucario EX do very good. But if I'm mistaken about that, I do want to just preface that. Next card I want to move from low tier is actually Starme EX. So Starme EX, 2 energy, 90 damage, has always been a very good attacker. Plus, it always had the benefit over Pikachu, where Pikachu was a basic, but you know, Starmie is a stage 1. Had no retreat cost, which is actually very good. So, what are the problems with Starme EX? No deck is really playing it. There's just no deck that's playing it, dude. And also, the 130 HP is very awkward. It does get one shot by Giratina. I think the only deck that really still plays Starmie is like Starmie Palkia, which is played a little bit in tournaments and maybe ranked. I personally have never seen. Actually, I played against Starmie once. That is a lie. It might have actually been a... No, I think it was. I think I played Starmie against once in ranked. But I'm pretty sure I just played against Giratina and I just, you know, one-shot two of them back to back. And you know, Starmie Palkia is just not the best card. Palkia is not even the best card anymore, dude. So Starmie, unfortunately... like I said, I don't think it's super bad. So I'm just going to put it in a rogue. I really do think it's like better than some of these cards down here because at least 90 damage. If you do go second, dude, it does actually threaten 90 damage and you can 2-tap like these Darkrai's and Giratinas. They are sitting up and they don't have any potions. So Clodsire is in low tier. He is the lone warrior for now. I'm probably going to move some stuff down. But so Clodsire 160 damage to RNG if they are poisoned. And I do think that's actually technically 170 because, you know, the poison tick. So the card is actually very strong. The problem with Clodsire is getting the poison on them. You either have to go second and attack with Wooper to poison them. You do have the new Ekans, which I've seen some people play. I've seen people play the Ekans and the Arbucks from Genetic Apex that traps them in, which is a very cool tech. He's just another poison card. I'm not the biggest fan of Weezing personally, and then I just see people usually, it's usually like Clodsire, Ekans, and the monkey, you know, the Grafai or Grafai, whatever you want to call it, bro. I forget his name. And that's a coin flip, dude. So at the end of the day, Clodsire, also, it's 160 HP, I believe. Is it 160 or 180? I gotta check that, actually. Yeah, so Clodsire is 160 HP for stage 1. That's actually very phenomenal, bro. It's very tanky. Literally what Darkrai is with a giant cape, and that's a really good threshold of a number. Like I said, the only problem is, bro, like the poison. If we get a new card in the future that could poison things more effectively, I only see Clodsire rising up. I just think this is one of the cards that in this meta, a little bit too slow and too gimmicky, but like in the future, if we ever get some new cards added, could definitely rise up. And I would just have to wait and see. I am going to move Celebi and Leafeon because they are a package. You really only play them together. I am going to put them in a low tier. And the reason for this is because Leafeon only does 70 damage. It can struggle to get a KO. The one benefit of Leafeon is that it does basically guarantee like 2-tap Darkrai because of the weakness. In certain scenarios where they have like double potion, Pokemon Center Lady, and a giant cape, they can live 2 hits. But for the most part, like if you actually go into a Darkrai, dude, and you can set up Celebi in the back, Celebi can nuke the final Giratina for the kill. And Leafeon is actually pretty decent into the fighting decks because of Erica. They have to like 3-hit Leafeon. Obviously, if you don't get Leafeon right away and you do go first, they can knock you out with a fighting attack on your EV, which is something you have to consider. And like theoretically against Gyarados, you can knock out the Manaphy of Leafeon, have a supercharged Celebi, and then Celebi can nuke the Gyarados. But like it's just so coin flip based, and it's just not the easiest, bro. It's like sometimes like Leafeon just can't get those KOs, like especially against Darkrai Giratina because they do have those potions. And like 70 damage isn't a lot. Like you could play red, but I've noticed red, bro. Like I don't think red really matters for Leafeon. I think like 2 reds would matter, but like 1 red, like sometimes they just potion and I can't get that double thing anyways because, you know, 140 doesn't even, like 140 right away just doesn't one-shot them. So like, yeah, I could use red and make it that 160, but they just like usually potion or like giant cape that away. So the problem with Leafeon is Leafeon struggles to get that early initial kill. But if you can, Celebi actually can win you the game. At the same time, Celebi is squishy, could easily get Sabrina'd in and knocked out by a lot of things because of the addition of red. Obviously, you know, if they use Sabrina, they can't red. But let's say you don't have a giant cape, dude, like Giratina's one-shotting you. Darkrai could do 120 with a red. So if like it has like previous chip damage, or if you're talking to a Rocky Helmet. Yeah, there's just even Arceus, like Arceus can one-shot you with red and off a cape. There's just a lot of things that can just one-shot Celebi that is not irrelevant. Even Gyarados now with the addition of red. So it just like makes like Celebi kind of useless. Like Celebi, basically you have to get that initial KO with Leafeon, which is already hard because Leafeon doesn't do the most damage, only 70. And before, the good thing, like I think like Celebi and Leafeon were like mid to like high mid tier. Leafeon, a lot of damage. Let's say you couldn't get that KO. Your Celebi probably has like 4, 5, 6 energy. It can get one attack off, knock that thing out because it's probably not gonna have a lot of HP left. And then you have like that final gambit of like 7 to 8 coin flips on that last thing because you can't live that one additional hit. Where you just can't live that one additional hit anymore, bro. So I just think Celebi is literally like a final clutch situation. And I just don't think you want to be relying on that with coin flips. It's just not consistent. So unfortunately, dude, my favorite deck from last season, the Water Energy Celebi Leafeon, which is not even optimal anymore. You don't even play Water Energy because no point when you're just getting one shot. But yeah, just very unfortunate. So fortunately, just low 2 cards. Next up we have this Charizard EX. It is just rogue, bro. It is just not really good. It's just you have to set it up for 5 for 150, and that's nice because you can just keep attacking once you do get it set up. But 3 retreat costs, dude. So like if that thing get like Sabrina'd in early, you're not gonna be able to retreat it. And everything just does so much damage in this meta. Like let's say you go in like right away, you use Stoke, you take 1 attack, you gotta be able to do 1 attack before they KO you, and just not the best. It's just fortunately not the best when we already have this Charizard that is 200 damage. It's just like gate kept by itself. Like it's not bad. It's just not. It's not totally useless. But like we already have the 200 one, so I'm just gonna put in Rogue. You see some Charizard decks playing one of this Charizard and the one of the old one. But for like most part, like especially in Master Ball, I almost just primarily see. I don't primarily. I only see the Charizard EX from Genetic Apex. I haven't seen Charizard EX honestly since like Great Ball, maybe a little Ultra Ball. Obviously, yeah, I haven't been there in a couple weeks, so maybe it's changed. But in my opinion, like I said, it's not necessarily bad. There's already just a better Charizard. Next up we have Tinkaton. I'm just gonna move Tinkaton. I think you know what? I think Tinkaton is in like the middle, mid tier and low tier. I think, like I said, bro, it is very good when you are landing those heads. But if you do land tails, it is a stage 2 for 300 that does 80 damage, and that's honestly probably just terrible. That's honestly, landing the tails on Tinkaton is a lot worse than a lot of these EXs in 6 feet under. So I just really think if you are not landing those heads, this card is complete garbage. If you are landing those heads, bro, the good thing is because you mainly play Tinkaton with Skarmory. Skarmory is very good in the Gyarados matchup, one tapping the Manaphy's and the Magikarps, and it's pretty good against like stuff like Spiritomb too, like early game if you do go second. Usually you can just 2-hit that thing. Obviously, you know, they can Erica up, but like you just Skarmory is pretty decent in the meta, just doing 50 pokes. Yeah, land those heads, bro, phenomenal. I played this card, I landed a bunch of tails, it felt like complete garbage. So it's literally the most RNG based card probably on this thing. That's like not Celebi. So Glaceon, I won a tournament with Glaceon last season. I think Glaceon is still cool. 140 HP, gets 1 shot, and I just think it's rogue. I just don't think a lot of people are playing it because there's just better water types. You either play Palkia or you play Gyarados. No one's really playing Glaceon anymore. Because while it does do 100 damage for an attack and it's only 3 energy, so you get like theoretically like Misty on it or like Manaphy Dawn X speed. Problem is, you can just get knocked out by Giratina, bro. Let's just be real. Even if a Cape, Gyarados can one-shot you now. There's just a lot of things in the meta, bro, that can cook you. And it's just simply not the best water type to play. So I actually kind of want to move this Pikachu up. I've seen this Pikachu actually do a lot better, bro. I'm not talking about tournaments, at least in ranked. Which is a weird position because I think it's one of those cards where like ranked or like competitively it's not the best, but like in ranked, dude, glass cannon deck, dude, if you get the perfect hand of the Dons, the Magnetons, the Pachirisu going second with the Pikachu, and dude, you're just gonna be Pikachu blast something, then you either retreat and have like a Magnezone go in, or you set up one for a second attack and then you just knock something out. Yeah, it's pretty decent. It literally kind of like depends. You really need to get all this stuff in. If you do, you can definitely punish these Giratina and Darkrai decks, which take a minute to set up, where because you have Dawn, you can accelerate the damage so fast that you could easily nuke that Giratina or maybe the Darkrai in the active spot that was setting up, and then you only have really one thing to worry about. And then if you have like especially like a Magnezone in the back, because you know Magnezone is a non-EX Pokemon, Giratina can have a struggle KOing it, especially if you put a giant cape on it, and you can just easily 2-tap that Giratina to win the game like that. Definitely a mid-tier deck, dude. It's like definitely not consistent by like any means, but like if you actually do draw those hands, you could definitely demolish people and catch people like by surprise. Wugtrio, I still think is a mid-tier deck. I played around of it a lot in the beginning of the season, like the first week and a half, and yeah, people are even just playing like 16 card Wugtrio now, which is like, you know, 2 Wiglets, 2 Wugtrios, and a bunch of support cards, which I haven't tried out personally, but I've heard it's like all right, you know, it's just a mid-tier deck. Personally, I still like prefer the Manaphy Dawn, but yeah, just one Wugtrio is like one of those cards broken if you get the perfect targets fit. Sometimes you can't throw and lose your game because like it does like targets like 150 on something that's already gonna get like KO'd by like one target, but kind of all depends, bro. It's like another one of these like Tinkaton cards, but like I still think Wugtrio is better. One funny thing is Wiglet can one-shot the Magikarps if you get really good RNG and actually snipe the Magikarps. That's something I always like to mention when talking about Wugtrio, but like I think it's a pretty solid mid-tier card, man. So next up we have the B+ plus the A-, which I'm honestly just gonna change this, bro, to B+ and have this high mid-tier. And basically I just think these cards are all right. They are definitely strong, but they're just nothing insane. Bugle 80 damage, very good if you can get it early against Giratina if it is in the active spot, because if they're playing like the Darkrai Giratina, obviously you know they have Dark Energy only, and you could like keep sniping the Psychic Energy so they can never actually attack off Giratina. And it's also a grass type, so it does 100 damage to Darkrai, so that's pretty cool. Executor is one of those cards, dude, if you go first and you start landing a bunch of heads on your next turn, it definitely can still pop off. I don't think Executor is that good anymore, which is why I'm putting him in higher mid tier, because at least he's 1 energy for stage 1, and he is still like one of the best going first cards if you can land those heads. Landing the tails, not really doing anything anymore. A lot of decks are playing Potion nowadays. Also, you know, unless it's like Darkrai in the active spot, because you do at least get the weakness bonus. But it's really kind of like dependent on the situation. Plus, I wouldn't really say like the Executor deck is like top tier. I think it's like more of like a mid, low, high tier deck. Like high, low tier deck. So Executor, you know, if you get a bunch of heads, it's fine. Could even possibly be mid tier, but like I said, I think the chance of just going first and landing those 80 damage like heads, like maybe like 2 heads back to back, is I feel like kind of like what differentiates it from these mid tiers like Pikachu and Wugtrio, where it needs like kind of like a lot of things going on. Where like Executor, you just need the execute the Executor EX and just 1 grass energy, so I think it's pretty good. Plus, Masquerada is one of the best cards in the game right now, which you usually play it with, so I just think it's a very fine. Like high mid tier card. Next up is Palkia. So Palkia, 150 damage thrown to the bench, still a very strong attack. The problem with Palkia is it just, you basically need to set up 2 attacks for it to be useful. 150 damage, a lot of things can one-shot it, so you're going to want that giant cape. Even if the giant cape do like Dark Red Chip, Giratina with red still does one-shot it. So you basically want to be in a position where you can get like 2 attacks back to back, like ramping up Manaphy. Although like the most common Palkia variant, at least from what I've experienced in Master Ball, is actually Giratina Palkia it's 16 trainer cards. And yeah, you just, you know, you're setting up the water energy on Palkia, you're setting up the stuff on Giratina. Because you're playing water energy, you can play stuff like Irida. I just think it's a little bit too slow for this meta, because you set up everything and then you go for 1 attack, where at least like Charizard, you have something like Moltres, which is pretty good. And Charizard gets the guaranteed 1-shot. Sometimes the Palkia just can't 1-shot if you don't have the red. And yeah, that's basically the reason, dude. I think it's a high mid-tier card. Like, I don't think it's bad by any means. I just think in this meta, dude, it's like it just takes a little bit too long to set up. And then like, let's just theoretically say you're playing a Manaphy variant, you set up 2 attacks, like you can get 1-shot before you get that second attack off, which definitely can be something. Obviously, you could have a second Palkia, but they also might just KO your Manaphy, which means then they have to knock out 1 Palkia, because they could easily do that, dude, with the Dark Red Chip damage. Or just like Skarmory, Magnezone, Masquerada, and stuff like that is like pretty good against it too. Next up we have Articuno EX, which I'm definitely moving down. This card is just mid tier. It's just not good, dude. Because of red and because like Giratina Darkrai, you can easily KO to 1 hit even with a giant cape. Masquerada, why it can't Masquerada can't 1-shot you for red, like over red, because only does 150 max. Like they have Erica in their deck, or especially the new version of Masquerada, Masquerada Magnezone, like Articuno, bro. And like unless you get that Misty Flip, bro, or they brick, it's just not good into the meta. Like it doesn't really, like it still beats the Rampardos players, maybe because like that's what Articuno was good against last patch, or at least that's what my boy who played primarily Articuno and had phenomenal placings told me. It was very good in the Rampardos matchup. Always was a problem with stuff like Arceus, and Giratina is basically the same thing. I just don't see it being really good. I would like actually rather play like any of these cards above it, which is why I'm putting it in a mid tier. It is probably at overall over Wugtrio, because some very slim people in Masters are still playing 18 card Articuno. I just don't think it's the best by any means, and I feel like you're heavily relying on Misty or your opponent breaking. So in my opinion, I just think it's a mid tier card now. So for the high tiers, what do I want to move? There's a lot of stuff I actually want to move. So first off, I'm going to move okay, I actually need to double check something real quick in the meta, because I'm not too sure where to place this Dalga. So don't mind me as I go over to this website, because I'm very curious. I do not believe Dalga RCS has had good results, but if they have, I've just missed it because I'm not too in tune to the tournament stuff. Let's just so March 29th. Okay, that was like the beginning of stuff, so I'm not gonna count that. That was like the beginning of the thing. Is this not Shining Revelry? Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, this was like the beginning when everyone was just like, still playing it. Let's see. Date. And April 6th, 3rd, 2nd, 252. Yeah, that's pretty alright. Oh, okay, so this one, okay, so the very first Ursies, you got 29th place. So, Dalga is just really not doing anything anymore. I feel like the most common Arceus variant is Darkrai Arceus and Giratina. So, I'm honestly going to move the Dalga into, I don't know if I want to put it high mid tier or just high tier. Yeah, I'm going to do high mid tier, bro. You really only see Dalga in Arceus, and it's just not the best Arceus variant anymore, so you really don't run into it. I probably would put it at like the top if I'm going to be honest. But like I said, still a fantastic like ramp up card. Definitely good in like meta, like not meta decks, but I mean it's still good, you know, the Arceus variant. But like it's definitely like probably most played in stuff like rogue decks, mid tier decks, just like fun decks, like stuff like Licky and stuff. There's a Goldango Dalga deck too, but that's like really just a gimmick. Yeah, it's just a fine high mid tier card. It's just, you know, it's a good ramp up card. It's just we don't really need a ramp up card when people are just using like Giratina, Dawns and stuff with Arceus. So yeah, just kind of got replaced. Next up we have Weavile Darkrai, which I kind of need to check on this deck too, because I want to put it in probably like high mid tier also, but I need to check basically if it's had good results, because I think it's one of those decks that can be better in tournaments than unranked. It doesn't get shit on by Masquerada though, I will be honest. I'm just trying to see. Okay, it's like not even, dude, it's, bro, wait, am I missing it, or is, oh no, okay, it's in 9th place. Let's see, what are the recent results? First, okay, these like a tournament thing, so small tournaments. 4th, it's not really doing have results. I mean, kinda, bro, you know what, I'm gonna put Weavile in high mid tier, because I think a lot of things in the meta just kind of beat up, bro. Like Masquerada, Gyarados, Arceus, Giratina, or I mean Arceus kind of does, but just Giratina, Darkrai, Masquerada, which I might have already said, but yeah, basically the problem with the deck is you kind of need to get like go second or first. You need to have Weavile, which is sometimes can be a detriment, bro. Sometimes you just get the Sneasels and you can't not get the Weaviles, which you know, is pretty useless. It could be a high tier deck, but to be honest, bro, in like Masters, almost nobody's playing it. Like, don't get me wrong, very good into like stuff like Mewtwo and Giratina. The problem with that is just like it's not super played, bro. There's a lot of decks that beat it. Kind of need like everything to go right, dude. And a lot of people are playing potions, so sometimes like theoretically, like let's say you go second, let's say you just want to do a Darkrai chip, you know, get the guaranteed damage because you know Seasonal was a coin flip. Then you evolve in the Weavile next turn, but they might just potion up on their turn, so like you don't even get the additional damage unless you have like a Dom play. So I think potion in like Nurse Story is like really good in the meta, so I think that can definitely damper how good Weavile is if they just potion up the Darkrai chip or something. Next up is Mew. Basically no one really plays Mew. Theoretically it's still a pretty good card. Honestly could even be a high mid tier card, which yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna put it in high mid tier. No one's really playing Mew anymore. Because, you know, you aren't playing Dog Up, so you basically don't have a way to ramp it up. And you're not really playing it in stuff like Gyarados because you really don't want to be ramping Mew up because it's not the most useful. It's definitely a brick. So, yeah, it's a fun card. Still, it's just there's no real good ramp up card in the meta that just lets you like slot a Mew in for free and just charge it up, because every deck is kind of like an energy hog right now. So, I want to move Arceus to A+. Still strong, I just don't think it's as strong as these cards. And I also want to move Gallade to A tier because a lot of people kind of like know the energy management on Gallade, or like know how to play around Gallade, you know, because you know it does more damage based on the energy. A lot of people are not like overcharging stuff with energy, So Glade can get the one shots sometimes. Less the Pokemon already has previous damage for the Hitmonlees, but at the same time, like Hitmonlee, like there's potions and there's stories going around in the meta, and like Gyarados and stuff. I think it's definitely still a top tier deck. I just think it can definitely struggle in some situations if your opponent is playing around it. Plus you always can brick with like Mars Shadow, which is still a stage 2, which is pretty bricky in that situation. And unlike Charizard, which is also a stage 2, which can brick, and you know, definitely get those bad coin flips on Charizard. At least Charizard does come in and guarantee one shot every single thing in the game. Besides Amazon of a Giant Cape. I don't know how many times I have to keep saying that, but yeah, but besides that, I think this is the updated tier list. I think these are definitely the top decks. I think Darkrai, Giratina, and then I think Gyarados, and then Mewtwo are like top 3. I think Arceus and Charizard are very strong. I think Glade is still, while very strong, I think people are just getting better at the matchup. I think it's honestly a better tournament deck than I think it's a better tournament deck than ranked, because I ended up climbing up to 1710 of this deck, and then I mean, I rage tilted, bro. Anyone who's wants an update for my ranked journey, I'm currently back at 1670 after being stuck in like 1500 for 4 days after being top 500. So there's that. I'm finally back at 1670. So let's just hope I don't drop down again. But yeah, this is just my updated tier list. I basically just wanted to do this real quick. I thought it was going to be a lot faster, but I ended up yapping like I always do. And yeah, I think that does it for the video. I'm probably going to do a Leafeon Celebi deck just because I want to do an updated one. Thank you for all the love and support on the Venusaur video. I'm kind of very surprised in how good it's doing, just because I thought people would only really be interested in ranked decks, but I'm very glad you guys are still interested in casual decks too, because lets me know that if I'm having a bad day on ranked, I can just go play some casual games, upload a fun deck. Anyways, peace out and have a lovely day, and thank you guys as always. Low-key Venusaur might be in 4300, bro. Low-key on the low, I feel like it kind of is better than a lot of these things in here, so I'm just gonna move it up. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, bro.